In this lesson, we're going to talk about outlining. There's two types of outlining. There's sentence outlines and keyword outlines, and we're going to use keyword outline. Keyword outlines are better, in my opinion, because it helps you just take the information, and when you rewrite the information, you're putting the information in your own style. This helps you avoid plagiarism, and it also gives your writing something that's uniquely yours because you can use your own style. When you just use a sentence outline, you're repeating sentences from your text and you're putting it together hopefully in a unique way. But what you have is sentences from someone else's writing, which can get dangerously close to plagiarism, and also it doesn't make the writing as unique. But when we use a keyword outline, it allows us to put the writing in our own words or the concepts in our own words. As we do these outlines, I'm going to give you a couple of rules. The first one is you only get to pick 5 words for each point. Usually you read a sentence and you pick out your 5 favorite words. And for everyone, your words are going to be different. So as I do this example, you may not have chosen those words, and that is fine. You can choose the words that you find most interesting, because if they're interesting to you, then that's going to make for interesting writing for you. And it's interesting to me that some people like to pick out the verbs, some people like to pick out the adjectives. Whatever part of speech you like, that's fine, or you can mix it up. But be sure and pick out the key words that when you start writing it, you can remember the key concepts from your research. So our keyword outline, you have the text there on the screen, and also you could print out the text that we're going to be using, and it is on Shark Week. And I'm going to read the first sentence here. And first we need to name it, so let's call it Sharks. And because we have a name, we're not going to repeat sharks very much because we know what our topic is. Occasionally we'll have to repeat sharks, but just keep in mind you already have that up there. So let's read our first sentence. A study released by the International Union for Conservation of Nature in January revealed that 1/4 of sharks and ray species are threatened with extinction. So when you read that, what do you find most interesting? And to me, it's going to be 1/4 sharks, rays, threatened. I really only needed 4 words for that sentence, but that will help me to remember when I want to write that 1/4 of the sharks and rays are threatened by extinction in a study. And you might even pick the International Union for Conservation of Nature, which would count as 1 word because it's the name of an organization. So the next sentence, number 2. Sharks are being overfished in all of the world's oceans, including the reprehensible practice of shark finning, in which the fin of the shark is sliced off to make a certain kind of soup, and the rest of the shark is discarded. So for me, the 5 words that would be most helpful in me remembering this information is sharks, and I'm repeating sharks, are overfished, finning, and soup. So when I go to rewrite this, I'll remember that the key concepts are sharks are being overfished. And one of the practices that causes the overfishing is the finning, shark finning, where they cut off the fin of a shark and then discard the body back in the ocean, and these fins are used for soup. And you can see when I'm repeating this, I've come up with a whole unique way of saying this from just those 4 words. Let's look at our third sentence. The answer is protecting sharks and the waters in which they live. Now that's a short sentence, and I might could combine it, but I'm just going to pick 3, protecting sharks and waters. So if I was going to write this and looking at my words I have, I might say 1/4 of the sharks and rays today are threatened in our oceans. Sharks especially are overfished because of a horrible practice called finning. In finning, the shark's fin is cut off and the rest of the shark is discarded in the ocean for the shark to drown. They then use these fins to make soup. It is necessary for us to protect our sharks and our waters. And again, I made it totally different than I did the previous time. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for you to remember the information. You need to write down enough to remember and enough that you can put your own unique spin on it. And depending on how much you know about sharks, that's going to determine what you write down. So let's look at our next sentence. Most New Yorkers don't realize the underwater ecological splendor that exists just a few miles offshore. So I'm going to put New Yorkers don't realize ecological splendor. Okay, let's go on to number 5. The New York seascape provides habitat for migratory whales, sea turtles, seabirds, and other threatened marine species. New York seascape, habitat, whales, turtles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to put etc. And then on to my next sentence. This seascape is also a hot spot for nearly 40 species of sharks and rays. Seascape, hot spot. I kind of like that word, hot spot. 40 species. So I'm going to just use 4. This next sentence. Including the protected sand tiger shark and depleted thorny skates. So really that's the second part of that sentence, and that's okay. Sometimes we'll pick another number for our clause. But there's really nothing in there that I find that interesting other than the seascape. The New York seascape is a hot spot for over 40 species, and that includes sharks and rays. I can remember that. So be sure and put down things that will trigger your memory about your research. Most relevant to viewers of Shark Week, the New York seascape is known for its iconic oceanic sharks, including the mako, threshers, and blue sharks, along with an occasional great white. So I'm going to call it seascape, blue, white, mako, and threshers. My next sentence. People are not as quick to recognize the ecological importance of undersea habitats because they are not easily seen. Undersea habitats, not easily, no. Yeah, that'll keep me under 5 words. I have to crowd it a little bit here. But that does not make them any less crucial to threatened wildlife or make them any less incredible. So, habitats, crucial, threatened wildlife. So this is my keyword outline for the information out of this article. And if I was going to write it, I'm just going to kind of use it to give back a speech right now, and that hopefully will be what you'll be able to do. If you cannot talk about your keyword outline, then you're not going to be able to write about your keyword outline. So a very good practice is to see if you can restate the concepts. If you can't restate your concepts, you probably need to change your keywords. So, sharks. 1/4 of the sharks in Ray today are threatened. Sharks particularly are in danger because of overfishing and also because of a horrible practice called finning. In finning, the shark's fin is cut off and the body is discarded to allow the shark to drown and die at sea. These fins are then used for a delicacy of a soup. In order to protect our sharks and take them out of the threatened status, we not only need to protect our sharks, but we need to protect our waters. One particular waterway is in New York. This seascape is an ecological splendor that many New Yorkers don't even realize exists. This seascape is a habitat for whales, turtles, birds, and sharks. There are over 40 species in this hotspot around New York, and it provides a habitat for blue sharks, white sharks, makos, and threshers. One of the reasons that many people don't understand the threatened status of sharks is that we don't see their habitat. Their habitats are under the sea and it's not easily seen, and so we don't understand its importance. But protecting their habitat is crucial to protecting our threatened wildlife. So that's what I want to be able to see you do, and then in the writing, take that and put it into a written form. And in our next slide, we are going to take this information and put it in a written form.